911, Operator Harris, where is your emergency?
I don't know what's happening. Somebody kicked in the door inside my girlfriend.
Okay, where are you located?
I'm at 3003 Springfield Drive, apartment 4.
3003 Springfield Drive, apartment number 4?
Yes.
Hi everyone, and many thanks for joining me. If you are new to my channel, hi, I'm Kat and I like to talk about crimes, investigations and all sort of related stuff. Please don't forget, if you are new here, to hit the subscribe button below. Also make sure you hit the notification bell so you are the first one to know about any new videos I upload. For my returning subscribers and viewers, I would like to thank you all so much for all the continuous support and for those lovely comments I always receive from you. Thank you. This is the story of Breonna Taylor. But before we get started, here is the disclaimer. I do not mean to be disrespectful to anyone I talk about in today's video. The video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The information I collect is from the internet. I compile all this information and make a video, and from the video you guys are more than welcome to draw your own conclusions. Thank you. Breonna Taylor was a 26-year-old emergency medical technician from Louisville, US, and she was about to turn 27 on the 5th of June 2020, but sadly she was too soon taken away from us. She was a caring person who loved her job in health, and she enjoyed playing cards with her aunts. Breonna was the type of person who would fall asleep watching a movie with friends. She loved cooking, singing, and she would always check up on her friends. She had a very caring nature. That's why she was attracted to a career in health. Breonna was very hardworking and dedicated to her job, and as an emergency medical technician, her schedule would have been quite hectic, especially in early March when there were worries about the coronavirus spread. But she always welcomed the opportunity to make a difference in someone's life. She was a first responder who would sneak in a nap before her next shift. Breonna moved from Michigan to Louisville when she was a teenager. Friends and family would call her Bree. Her aunt, Bianca Austin, called her Mini-Me, and Tyrone Bell, her uncle, called her Breezy. Another aunt of Breonna, Tahasha Holloway, says, and I quote, "She was a cool cat," end of quote. The family regularly spent time together, and Breonna would always love to play her favorite card games, Phase 10 and Skip Boo. In a Facebook post Breonna made as her uncle recovered from a stroke last year, she wrote, and I quote, "Working in healthcare is so rewarding. It makes me feel so happy when I know I've made a difference in someone else's life. I'm so appreciative of all the staff that has helped my uncle throughout this difficult time and those that will continue to make a difference in his life." End of quote. Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend Kenneth Walker were at home in her apartment in Louisville, Kentucky, when a search warrant was executed by Jonathan Mattingly, Brett Hankison and Myles Cosgrove on the 13th of March 2020. Breonna's boyfriend Kenneth was with her in the house when the police knocked on the door and forcefully entered the apartment using a battering ram. But you need to realize this was around midnight, right? Naturally, at that point Kenneth thought that someone broke in, so he picked up the gun for which he had a license, and after hearing the loud bang, Breonna started shouting, "Who is it?" repeatedly. But there was no answer, so Kenneth fired a warning shot. Obviously, he thought he would scare the thieves away. And according to the officials, the bullet hit Mattingly in the leg, and that's when the police fired 32 rounds in the apartment. 32 rounds. Oh my god. Mattingly, the only officer who actually entered the apartment, fired 6 shots, and at the same time Cosgrove fired 16 shots from the doorway area, all in a matter of seconds. Hankison fired 10 shots from outside the apartment through a sliding glass door and bedroom window, both of which were covered with curtains and blinds. All these shots were fired in a matter of seconds, hitting objects in the dining room, living room, kitchen, hallway, bathroom, and both bedrooms. Breonna Taylor was struck by 6 bullets and she was sadly pronounced dead at the scene. I mean, really, those police officers shooting 32 rounds, it's unbelievable. And they didn't even see who was inside. They didn't even make sure there was no one innocent in there. It seems as if as soon as Mattingly was shot, allegedly in the leg, that was the excuse the officers needed to open fire. And they didn't stop after a shot. I mean, seriously, was it really necessary to shoot 32 times? As if, you hold your finger on the trigger and you don't let go. And the other 2 officers who are not even in the house. I mean, in my view, really, that is excessive use of force. And not only. Come on! At 12 o'clock in the night, anyone who'd hear a loud bang would be scared shitless and they'd grab anything to defend their homes, their loved ones, and themselves, of course. There were reports initially that the home was included in a no-knock search warrant, signed by Jefferson County Circuit Judge Mary M. Shaw, reportedly based on representations by police that one of the men used their apartment to receive packages. But the New York Times later reported that before the raid, the order had been changed to knock and announce, meaning that the police were required to identify themselves. The LMPD were actually investigating Jamarcus Glover and Adrian Walker. He was not related to Kenneth Walker. They were suspected of selling drugs for a drug house more than 10 miles away from Breonna's house. Jamarcus and Breonna were in an on and off relationship since 2016 before they officially called it off in February of this year. Then she committed to Kenneth. In December 2016, Fernandez Bowman was found dead in a car which was rented by Breonna and used by Jamarcus. The man was found shot 8 times. The search warrant included Breonna's apartment because it was assumed Jamarcus received packages at Breonna's house which contained drugs, and because a car registered to Breonna was seen parked at Jamarcus' house on several occasions. And according to the warrant, in January of this year, Jamarcus left Breonna's apartment with an unknown package, presumed to contain drugs, and took it to a known drug apartment soon afterwards. The warrant also states this was verified through a U.S. postal inspector. However, in May, the U.S. postal inspector publicly announced he did not collaborate with law enforcement, and the postal office said it was actually asked by a different agency to monitor the packages going to Breonna's house. And after doing so, it concluded, and I quote, "There is no packages of interest going there." End of quote. This resulted in an internal investigation, because obviously this would mean the warrant didn't have any grounds, right? After the warrant was executed, however, there were no drugs found in Breonna's apartment. Breonna's family lawyer filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the police which alleges the officers entered Breonna's home, quote, "without knocking and without announcing themselves as police officers," end of quote. They opened fire, quote again, "with a total disregard for the value of human life," end of quote. Kenneth said there was knocking at the door. Police claims the officers knocked and repeatedly announced themselves before forcing entry. However, the New York Times interviewed around 12 witnesses, and out of the 12, only one, who was at the exterior staircase just above Breonna's apartment, heard the officers shout "police" once and knock at least 3 times. At the same time, around 11 other neighbors heard no announcement, no knocking, including one of the neighbors who was just outside smoking a cigarette. On September 23rd of this year, Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron announced that an independent investigation concluded that the officers both knocked and announced their presence, which was corroborated by an independent witness who was in proximity to Taylor's apartment 4. I mean, how clever is it that out of those 12 witnesses, the Attorney General chose precisely the only one who allegedly said heard the officers announce? They chose that particular witness because, of course, in my opinion, it fit their narrative, right? Would make the police look like they just did their jobs and followed the rules. Yeah. But on September the 30th, the witness's lawyer said that his client never said that police announced themselves loud enough, and he implied that the witness was quoted out of context or that video was deceivingly spliced. So, to understand better, so I can understand better myself as well, the video of the recording when the witness said that the police announced themselves was tampered with, and what the witness said was taken out of context. That's clever. It is. According to Vice News, the witness originally said nobody identified themselves when interviewed by police a week after the shooting. However, the police called him 2 months later when he said he heard "this is the cops." But check this out, the entitlement on the police, oh my god. More than a month after the shooting, Jamarcus was offered a plea deal, right? He would need to testify that Breonna was part of his illegal drug dealing operation. Of course, Jamarcus rejected the deal. I mean, really guys, even after they shot an innocent person and killed an innocent person, the police are still trying to portray Breonna as a criminal just to save their asses. Really, how pathetic. How pathetic is this? Abuse of force, abuse of power, it all works here, it all works. When will it ever end? When is it going to end? Breonna's death certificate notes that an autopsy was performed and a manner of death was determined, listed as homicide. The death certificate also notes that she received 5 gunshot wounds to the body. The police filed an incident report that claimed Breonna had no injuries and there was no forced entry. All 3 officers involved in the shooting were placed on administrative assignment pending the outcome of an investigation by the police department's Professional Integrity Unit. On 20th of May, the findings were given to Daniel Cameron, the Attorney General of Kentucky, to determine if any of the officers should be criminally charged. Louisville Greg Fisher asked the FBI and U.S. Attorney's Office to review the findings. The FBI are also conducting their own investigation, announced by the Bureau's Louisville field office on 21st of May. In early June, Fisher called for Officer Hankison to be removed from the Louisville Police Merit Board, which reviews appeals from police officers in departmental disciplinary matters. He was a member of that board. On June the 19th, 3 months after the shooting, Louisville Metro Police Interim Chief Robert Schroeder sent Hankison a letter notifying him that Schroeder had begun termination proceedings against him. The letter accused Hankison of violating departmental policies on the use of deadly force by wantonly and blindly firing into Breonna's apartment without determining whether any person presented an immediate threat or whether there were any innocent persons present. On June 23rd, he was officially fired and had until July the 3rd to appeal. However, the appeal was delayed until the criminal investigation finishes. On September 23rd, a state grand jury indicted Hankison on 3 counts of wanton endangerment for endangering a neighboring white family of 3 when shots he fired penetrated their apartment. Bullets also entered the above apartment of a black family, but no counts were filed. Neither Hankison nor the 2 other officers involved in the raid were indicted for Taylor's death. Conviction could include a sentence of up to 5 years in prison and a fine for each count. Cameron said the FBI investigation was still ongoing. So these officers, they are not being charged for Breonna's death. Am I getting this straight? Seriously. So the state grand jury is indicting Hankison, right, for endangering the white family, but the officers are not indicting for Breonna's death. Are you serious? What kind of law is this then? Really, what kind of law is it? I mean, are police officers really above the law? As you can see, in my view, they are even getting away with murder. So as it seems, anything goes with them. And to top it up, which is really, really unbelievable, Kenneth Walker, for defending Breonna and himself, faced criminal charges of first-degree assault and attempted murder of a police officer. The officers said they announced themselves at the apartment and they were met with gunfire, and according to their statements, Kenneth discharged his firearm first, injuring a police officer. Of course Kenneth did that. Of course he did. Because he thought someone is breaking in. He felt they were both in danger and he acted in self-defense. Is that so wrong? Kenneth's lawyer said that Kenneth believed someone was trying to enter the house illegally. A 911 call revealed Kenneth telling the operator, and I quote, "Somebody kicked in the door and shot my girlfriend." End of quote.
911 operator Harris, where is your emergency?
I don't know what is happening. Somebody kicked in the door and shot my girlfriend.
Okay, where are you located?
I'm at 3003 Springfield Drive, apartment 4.
3003 Springfield Drive, apartment number 4?
Yes. Oh my God.
Okay, how old is your girlfriend?
She's 26. Breathe. Oh my
You said 26.
God.
Where was she shot at?
I don't know. She's on the grill right now. I don't know.
Okay.
Mama.
You said she's 26. Is she alert and able to talk to you?
No, she's not. Breathe. God.
Okay, and you said you're in apartment number 4?
Hell! Oh my God! Yes, hell!
What's your name, sir?
Oh, my name is Kenneth Walker.
You said Kenneth?
Hell!
And you said she's 26?
Yes.
Okay, you said 3003 Springfield Drive, apartment number 4?
Yes.
Okay. Can you check and see where she's been shot at?
I can't get on her stomach. No,
Okay. Is she alert and able to talk to you?
No, breathe.
Okay.
I think she's oh my God. Oh my God.
Can you get her turned over on her back? I need for you to check her and see where she shot at.
Oh my God. Oh my God. I gotta go, Mama.
Okay.
I gotta go. You back.
Kenneth? Kenneth, can you hear me?
You have reached the voicemail.
Which means, the way I see it, that the police officers they didn't announce themselves. Otherwise, why would Kenneth call 911 to ask for help, saying that someone got in their house and shot his girlfriend? Yes, I understand 911, obviously, because the girlfriend was shot. But he never said once that the police shot his girlfriend. So, yeah. Kenneth was later released from jail due to coronavirus concerns, which drew criticism from Louisville Metro Police Department Chief Steve Conrad. Why might that be, I wonder? Is it because he was released after being charged for injuring a police officer? But then how about the police officer who killed Breonna? Why is he not charged and convicted? Does the law not work for everybody, you know? It seems to me it doesn't. Like in a game of pick and choose, you just pick and choose whoever you like from police officers and this member of the community and this member and so on. Judge Olu Stevens released Kenneth from home incarceration on May 22nd, and the Commonwealth's attorney Tom Wine moved to dismiss all charges against him in late May. Wine dropped the charges because the officers never mentioned Breonna by name to the grand jury, or even that they shot her. Bastards, those officers, in my opinion, real bastards. They were trying to look good and innocent in front of the jury. They just, they just forgot to mention that they actually shot and killed Breonna. Oh, what a bunch of disgusting people, in my opinion. Rob Eggert, an attorney representing Kenneth, released a statement saying, and I quote, "He just wanted to resume his life." End of quote. At the same time, his attorney said that he could be charged again later as more facts come out of the shooting. On June the 16th, Eggert filed a motion to permanently dismiss the indictment charging Kenneth with attempted murder and assault. The motion asked Stevens to grant Kenneth immunity because he was within his rights to defend himself and Breonna under Kentucky's Stand Your Ground law. A Stand Your Ground law provides that people may use deadly force when they reasonably believe it to be necessary to defend against a threat of death, serious bodily harm, kidnapping, rape, or in some jurisdictions, robbery or some other serious crime, the right of self-defense. Under such a law, people have no duty to retreat before using deadly force in self-defense, so long as they are in a place where they are lawfully present. Kenneth was lawfully present at Breonna's home, so he was within his rights to defend himself and Breonna. On May the 15th, Breonna's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit. It states that Breonna and Kenneth were sleeping in the bedroom before the incident happened, and the police officers were in unmarked vehicles. The lawsuit states that Breonna and Kenneth thought that the apartment had been broken into by criminals and that they were in significant imminent danger. The lawsuit alleges that the officers then entered Breonna's home without knocking and without announcing themselves as police officers. The defendants then proceeded to spray gunfire into the residence with a total disregard for the value of human life. The lawsuit was resolved in mid-September, with the city of Louisville agreeing to pay Breonna's mother $12 million and institute policing changes requiring more oversight by top commanders and making mandatory safeguards that were only common practice up to the time of the raid. And yet again, I have to say yet again, a price is placed on a life, which could very well have been avoided had those officers actually checked to make sure there's no innocent people there. In June 2020, Democrats in Congress introduced the Justice in Policing Act of 2020, a broad bill containing measures to combat misconduct, excessive force, and racial bias in policing. The bill would prohibit the issuance of no-knock warrants in federal drug investigations and provide incentives to states to enact a similar prohibition. In June, Senator Rand Paul introduced the Justice for Breonna Taylor Act, which would prohibit federal law enforcement from carrying out a warrant until after the officer provides notice of his or her authority and purpose. It would also apply to state and local law enforcement that receive funding from the Justice Department. On June the 10th, the Louisville City Council voted unanimously to ban no-knock search warrants. The law is called Breonna's Law and requires all officers who serve warrants to wear body cameras and have them turned on from at least 5 minutes before the warrant is served to at least 5 minutes after. In Breonna's case, the police officers were saying they didn't have body cams, but we'll find out a bit later if really did they or they didn't. In the weeks following Breonna's death, there was very little publicity around this case or response from government officials. The LMPD didn't provide many details about the shooting, and they didn't really answer many questions about the case. Obviously, they were looking to keep it private, right? Out of the public eye, to avoid all those press and reporters and people complaining. So yeah, that's what they were actually trying to achieve here. On the 13th of May, Kentucky governor said the public needs to know everything about Breonna's death and the raid in March. 4 months after the shooting, there were demands from Breonna's family, members of the local community and protesters worldwide that the officers involved in the shooting to be fired and criminally charged. On July the 4th, over 100 people participated in the Youth March for Freedom in downtown Louisville. The participants stopped at historical civil rights sites and speakers called for the end of racial injustice and told the stories of the people affiliated with the sites. On July 14th, the National Social Justice Organization Until Freedom organized a march of over 100 people to the house of Kentucky Attorney General Cameron, where protesters occupied his lawn demanding charges against the officers involved in the killing. Police officers and the police helicopter were present as 87 protesters, including Houston Texans wide receiver Kenny Stills and the Real Housewives of Atlanta star Portia Williams, were arrested and removed from the lawn. As of mid-July 2020, there have been about 50 days of protests, and according to LMPD, 435 protesters were arrested. On July the 24th, protesters marched into the Nulu area of Louisville, which is the commercial district. They blocked the 600 block of E. Market Street with metal barricades and set up long metal tables for an impromptu block party to highlight demands for Nulu business owners, including hiring a more proportionate number of black workers. Police cleared the street and arrested 76 protesters who refused to leave. As of August the 10th, LMPD had arrested 500 protesters over 75 days of protests. On September 23rd, the night after the grand jury verdict was announced, protesters gathered in the Jefferson Square Park area of Louisville, as well as many other cities in the U.S., including Los Angeles, Dallas, Minneapolis, New York, Chicago, Atlanta, Cincinnati, Denver, Nashville, Philadelphia, Seattle, San Diego, Las Vegas, and Portland. Arwa Madawi and Brittany Cooper suggested Breonna's killing would likely not have received so much attention if not for the George Floyd protests, as black women are often neglected. Madawi said this to the Say Her Name hashtag campaign and Malcolm X's statement, and I quote, "The most disrespected person in America is the black woman." End of quote. The September 2020 edition of O magazine featured Breonna on the cover instead of the usual image of Oprah Winfrey, as a way to honor her life and the life of every other black woman whose life has been taken too soon. It was the first issue in the magazine's 20-year history that did not have Winfrey's image on its cover. 26 billboards, one for every year of Breonna's life, were put up around Louisville by Until Freedom and O magazine. Oprah Winfrey released a video 5 months after Breonna's death, calling for the arrest of the officers involved. Professional sports teams and individual athletes have honored Breonna and called for the end of racial injustice. Before the 2019-2020 NBA season restarted, The Memphis Grizzlies wore shirts with Breonna's name and say her name hashtag as they arrived at the arena. The September 2020 edition of Vanity Fair featured a painting of Breonna by Amy Sherald on the cover. The issue included an interview with Breonna's mother by author Tanishi Coates. At the 2020 Tuscan Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton wore a t-shirt on the podium with the words, "Arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor." The governing body, the FYA, considered investigating Hamilton for violating the protocols for political messaging, but decided no investigation was necessary. Well, I gotta tell you, in my view, this was no political messaging, was it? This was simply a call for justice, which is right, a call for justice. In September 2020, George Clooney issued a statement in which he said that he was ashamed by the decision to charge Hankison with wanton endangerment rather than with Breonna's death. Whilst I was researching for the video, I found some latest updates, including a footage moments after Breonna Taylor raid, obtained by Vice News, which seems to be police body cam footage, which the police officers said that they didn't have. The video shows what appears to be Officer Hankison walking into the crime scene. If this is proved to indeed have been him, then that would have been a violation of a police policy. And the video also shows more details about the ballistic report. I am hoping that I am able to actually show you the videos. I will try. But if for any reason you won't have the video on your screens, that means that it's a copyright issue from Vice News. However, if that happens, I will also leave the description, I will also leave the link for the video in the description below so you guys can have a look.
Newly revealed body camera video shows what appears to be the immediate aftermath of the police raid that killed Breonna Taylor in Louisville. The video obtained by Vice News seems to show a possible violation of police policy after the shooting. CBS News has obtained other evidence showing the one shot fired by Taylor's boyfriend may not have hit an officer, as a Kentucky general claims. Adriana Diaz reports that a former detective who faces criminal charges in this case seems to be in this newly released video.
Over the weekend, never-before-seen body camera footage obtained and released by Vice News appears to show former Detective Brett Hankison, who was involved in the raid that killed Breonna Taylor, walking into the crime scene after the incident. According to Vice, that's him with the flashlight asking about shell casing.
That's theirs? No, that's ours, it looks like. But I'd back out until they get PIU in here.
CBS News has not been able to verify the video. If Hankison was indeed at the scene after the shooting, that would be a violation of police policy, which states officers involved in shootings are to be isolated from all non-essential individuals for the remainder of the initial investigation.
That was just tremendously shocking.
Angelo Pinto is an activist with the group Until Freedom that works with Taylor's family. He says the video is troubling.
It looks like, and I think it's clear in some instances, that a lot of departmental policies were being violated.
But an attorney for the officer who was shot says these body camera videos don't show anything substantial. He says the officer still acted in legal self-defense. This state document raises additional questions. A portion of the Kentucky State Police ballistics report obtained by CBS News appears to not support State Attorney General Daniel Cameron's assertion that Taylor's boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, definitively shot Sergeant Jonathan Mattingly the night Taylor was killed. In part, it reads the bullet that hit Mattingly was neither identified nor eliminated as having been fired from Walker's gun. Walker's attorney, Steve Romine, says he has seen the full report.
There's also evidence that Kenny's shot actually hit the carpet in the apartment.
Walker was charged with attempted murder of a police officer, but the case was dropped without prejudice. Walker's co-counsel Frederick Moore says this means the state could charge him again if they see fit.
They can't really prove what Kenny knew when he fired the shot, right? Which is the element essentially for attempted murder.
It's unclear if the ballistics report or the body camera footage were presented to the grand jury, which decided Wednesday not to charge anyone with Taylor's death. Attorneys for Taylor's boyfriend have filed a motion for all the evidence presented to them to be released. An attorney for Brett Hankison, who will be arraigned today, said he's never seen a ballistics report, adding, quote, "Unlike a lot of lawyers, I do not try my cases in the press. I try them based on evidence in the courtroom." The police department's internal review is ongoing, Gail.
Adriana, so many questions in this case. Steve Romine, when he was here last week, Kenny Walker's attorney actually used the word cover-up to describe this case. And that's one of the reasons why people are still marching in the streets, because they want full transparency to see what evidence the grand jury was presented with.
Absolutely. A lot of protesters are talking about that exact thing, but prosecutors like the Attorney General say no such thing happened and that the officers here acted in legal self-defense.
Right. Well, the questions continue. Thank you very much, Adriana.
And this is it for today's video. If there's any more updates on the case, I'll keep you updated, and you can also use the comments section below to let me know of any new updates if I haven't said it already. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget, if you are new to the channel, to hit that big red subscribe button below. Also, make sure you hit the notification bell so you are the first one to know about any new video I upload. Many thanks for watching again. Stay safe and take care, guys. Bye bye.